So this is a concrete block custom home that I'm building in Newberry. I'm going to go over the first few stages of construction. So this property is down Watermelon Pond Road in Newberry, which is a nice country road. A lot of acreage, a lot of farmland, as you see here. So it's a really nice setting for a custom home. And so we started off every house with the site work, as you can see here. We got the fill dirt being brought in, we're spreading it out and, compacting it. We'll get a roller in here to make sure, the pad's nice and compacted before we start the foundation. And so the next thing you're going to see here, the form board's up and the plumbing's in. This is a couple weeks in, so the plumbing had been trenched out and all put in place underneath the foundation. And it's all covered up there. Now here we got the visqueen down, welded wire in, and vertical dowels up. And that's what those vertical dowels, the vertical pieces of rebar sticking up, are what the block's going to attach to. So here we are with the block that's been delivered. All the material showed up correctly, and that was great to see. We've got lintels and windowsills here and rebar. So these are all kind of specialty pieces. And so this is the morning that we started laying the block walls. So this is about 7:30 in the morning. Started early, try to get as much knocked out as we can each day. This crew is about 17 guys, which is awesome. So it's gonna be about a 1.5 to 2 day process of laying the block walls. And the great thing about, this crew is they work super efficiently. Everybody has a specific job. Everybody knows what they're doing. There's no standing around. Everybody has a specific responsibility and they execute on that. And so off that, one of the questions people always ask me is, is there any time advantage with going block walls, or do block walls take longer? What does it look like timeline wise compared to wood frame? And the truth is it's about the same amount of time, whether it's block exterior walls or wood frame exterior walls. Wood frame exterior walls, depending on the size of the crew, would go up from anywhere from 2 to 5 days. These block walls are going up in a day and a half or 2 days. Then we still have to get inspection, pour the cells. So there's really not a huge, advantage one way or the other timeline wise, whether you do block walls or wood frame walls. And then one of the other questions people always ask me, in comparison with wood frame walls, as far as, is there a cost difference? Are block walls cheaper? Are block walls more expensive? And, at this point, always block walls are going to be more expensive. On this particular house, there's probably, a $15,000, $20,000 difference in cost between block walls and wood frame walls. A big part of that is because in the Gainesville area, there's not as many block crews. So the pricing isn't as competitive as it may be in, let's say, Miami or Orlando or Tampa, where almost every building, every house has block work being done in it. So there's not as many crews up here, so they do charge a little bit more to lay the block walls because of that. It's a little bit more, that looks at, let's say 3% or 4% more per house total cost to do the block walls instead of the wood frame walls. But for some of my clients, especially ones that are coming up from South Florida or people that are moving to Florida and want the security of the block walls, it can be a really important feature that they, as a must-have for their new custom home. And so as we're seeing here, this is, all the block walls completely laid. You can see where those, the freshest blocks are with the darker mortar joints there. But, here I am, I always come, at this stage, come and check, all the rough openings on windows, doors. Before we pour the cells solid, I want to make sure that, all the measurements are correct and, we don't pour any cells if the sizings are off. Unfortunately, this house, we were good in all the measurements, so we were ready to pour the cells. And so some of the things you see here, we have, the open cells. That way inspector can see where the vertical dowels are coming up. That's going to be specified on the engineering, spaced, every so often. And the walls, on the corners next to doors and windows. So we just have to check all that and make sure it matches structural engineering specifications. And then next, we're going to be looking at the bond beam in the top of the wall. This connects all the vertical dowels, that we were just looking at, next to all the doors and windows and the corners and spaced in the walls. It connects the bond beam, which holds the whole wall together. And so here's the concrete truck out at the job site with the pump. And so this is pump day. And so, we passed inspection. So now we're going to be filling all the vertical cells and that bond beam with the concrete. So, this was going to give the walls all of its strength. And so as you see here, we got the hose out here, and you can see that bond beam, filled in most of the house. And, this is about a half of a day process, all involved. You can see here those open areas where we're looking at the vertical cell dowels. We got those covered up with plywood. So that way, when those cells are filled, the concrete doesn't run out of those cells. So you cover up with plywood, and then later on, we'll take those pieces of plywood off. And so here you can see the bond beam at the top of the wall where the rebar was, and you can see all the truss straps. So the truss straps have to be set at this point, and you can see that coming up out of the wall. So those are all those access points where you can see the vertical dowels. That's what it looks like when the plywood's taken off. You see on the inside of the house, outside of the house, there's a door right there you can see it on. There's a corner. And so, this was a 3 or 4 day process, between laying the block, getting inspection, and pouring the cells. As this house progresses, I'll continue to update with more videos, so be sure to check out the channel for more.